All right. This is it in terms of making big decisions. Can't really put it off for that much longer. We have our former wow, Chris Tanev went up to an A-. We do have our former NHLers who are now coaches. I would like to bring back Morita. I don't know if he'll still be our head coach, but obviously he has been a phenomenal coach. So we get to start off this run. The next 2 minutes, I would say, are a Tugan, because that's just where we're at. So ask away, chat. Why not? Help me help you. Do the Celtics and Stars rally? The Celtics, yes. The Stars, no. Although, man, so here's the reason why I say that. If the Vegas Golden Knights get reverse swept, Sin might actually die of happiness. And while I want my friend to be happy, I do not want him to die of happiness. I'd like let him be so happy that he still lives, but not happy enough that he dies. You get me? I see the Vegas onboard gameplay for F123. I did. That track seems like it's going to be a nightmare. Ever shocked myself with that fly swatter? No, shockingly not. And again, I haven't actually had to use it too much lately. Fingers crossed. You know, we named her yesterday, finally. I've had this thing for like a year or two. We finally gave it a proper name. Say hello to Phyllis, everybody. And, no, I've never had... I cannot say I haven't had the temptation to go, what's it feel like? There's a button on the side, by the way. See, there's a nice little... Hold on. Nice little red light for when it's active. Where's the button? It'd be better if it was over here. There's that red light. Look at that. Yeah, no, I've never had that temptation. Never had that temptation. Oh, God. What do we do?
Fanboy.
Couple of A-grade coach. Shout out to Tonzano. Good old Tonzano, perhaps. My paisano, Tonzano. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. There are some half-decent coaches to sign, but let's be honest, we probably won't. Are there former NHLers that we can continue to try to train up with the Marlies? There is the clutchest man of all time, Joseph Pavelski. I would need to rework the team a little bit quickly, though. I would have to promote... I can't sign Joe Pavelski yet, so we'll hold off. Did I lose any scouts? I lost a buttload of scouts. Okay. Well, we got to send out about 7 offers, and honestly, we'll just send it to every A- that we have here. First come, first serve, people. Who wants to work for an NHL team? Did it so many times when I was young, it's the same as those gag shockers. Yeah, but it's not fun. It's still not a fun experience. You know? At least for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. All right. Free agency. RFAs. Goalie-wise. I mean, Stock and Dubielewicz. Very tempting. Oh, the guy plays for Colorado and his name's Rocky. Come on. What is the max offer? What are the max numbers we can send? Still 1825. It didn't really go up that much. Even a 3rd round pick, you could argue, is worth it. How much cap space do the Colorado Avalanche have? A shitload. I mean, they can afford to pretty much match any offer that they want. But we will still send out offers, at least an offer to Dubielewicz. I think we'd be pretty dumb not to send him an offer. Again, Colorado is a virtual certainty to keep him, but still. And even Stock at 1825 We'll look to keep him. Defensively, Santaviori, but he's way too expensive. Payarvi, but he's way too expensive. Low lead tickets are. All right, so no one really defensively. Forward-wise, Sharks forward Quincy, but obviously going to be expensive as all balls. Expensive as all balls. Allman's already ours. Cossack. Cossack? Yeah, it's not going to drop down far enough. What about Heiskanen? Heiskanen doesn't drop down enough. What about Walsh? Weston Walsh, former 3rd overall pick. Looks to be very good defensively. That right side, honestly, could just be made up of really solid defensive players. I don't hate that idea. Brennan's not that good. Rene will drop. Rainier Hulse was ours. Low elites. There's a high 6 in Reshny, but he's too expensive. There's Little, who's not that good. There's Celios, that enforcer, who we tried to sign before. We can go for Celios. We can go for this rando enforcer. Yeah, not too much RFA action this year. UFAs. If we look at prospects, there is a medium elite in Martinson. Columbus has thrown their name into the hat for him as well. If we look at the best goalies possible, Jesper Wallstedt, Vanacek wants 11 million, LOL. Safronov is the guy who's been crushing it with the Coyotes. What happened last season? Take a guess, you'll probably be right. There are definitely goalies to sign, but again, we cannot afford to splash that much cash. The only option would be Emerton, for the sole purpose if he's not asking for that much. At an 85 overall. Otherwise, it's Mark Denny. 1st round. You nailed it. You got it, Chief. So this is a very similar option to like what Jeremy Swayman wanted. Former Leaf pick, Emerton. Correct. This is very similar to what Jeremy Swayman wanted a few years ago. We didn't go for it, but maybe we should have. So we'll send him a deal. Defensively. In terms of prospects, nobody really. McDermott's there, but well, we can sign McDermott and probably trade him. Edvinson's there, Dahlin, Vesinen. Honestly, based off of asking price and overall, Vesinen's not that bad. But we're gonna say no there. Defensively, we already have so much trouble. Yeah, Edvinson wants $16 million a season. We'll see if anyone gives that to him. And then forward-wise, prospects. Another low elite enforcer. Way too low of an overall to actually sign. All right. It's Kaliev, Johnson, Pasternak. Hagens might not technically be the worst. 87 overall for that money. But we already have quite a bit of talent in the system. Braden Yeager's not looking for that much money. There are some players here I acknowledge that we could go for. But I am going to hold off for the moment. Because again, we have a bunch of RFAs already and not that much money to work with. So Parker Marita says thanks, no thanks. We will have a new head coach in Toronto next season. Parker Marita throws in the towel and says no thanks. Sergachev, I would too, not going to lie. And you know what? You might not be wrong. So, I'm not going to go after merit. That'd be the smart decision, and I'm over making smart decisions. Let's bring in Joe Pavelski temporarily as the NHL head coach. That's not a position he'll maintain. Parker Marita, a.k.a. Paul Maurice. Same initials. Just saying, you know what? My time here's done, let's be honest. All right. As we solve the scout issues, Jalen McDermott signed, Martinson. All right. Joe Pavelski is here. Weston Walsh elects to go to Calgary. Celios says yes, but we don't know yet. Same thing for Stock. Dubielowitz. Celios stays with Montreal. Emerton signed as a free agent, which is good. Dubielowitz stays with Colorado. Stock stays with Nashville. So no surprises, really. No real surprises, but we do pick up Emerton. We bring him back to the system. So goalie-wise, we're pretty much good to go. Defensively, it's going to be a much younger defense this year. We know that for a fact. So we have a choice here. Last year we waited. And because we waited, Macias Kuba signed a big-ass deal that we had to match. We can be more proactive with guys like Perry, Ullman, Clapperton, and Dickinson, or we can try to wait them out. The more proactive approach means making trades right now. That is the proactive approach. Defensively, there's not much we can do yet in terms of improvements because we don't know the full scope until our younger players improve. On the wing, not much we can do yet unless we just wanted to say, fuck it, Michkov and Salmonen can get out. Left wing is the big issue. Left wing is the big issue, but to be honest, based off of the trade values of Ullman and Perry, if they get big-time offers, we're talking like 2 first-round picks, we should probably take it. So I think we're going to try to wait these guys out. I think we're going to try, because while we didn't want to lose Kuba last year, might not be the worst idea this time out to see if we get an offer sheet. As Kalen Addison gets dealt to Montreal. Not too often the big-time trade alert pops up for us anymore. Schultz takes the qualifying offer, so does Korolev. So July 29th. $16.2 million left. We do still have some RFAs. So again, in terms of weaponizing any remaining cap space, I would have to wait. And there we go. Calgary offers a deal to Ullman. It would be a first and a third. We're going to hit Remind Me in 6 days. So Ullman gets a qualifying offer from Calgary. First and a third. That Calgary first is pretty damn valuable. It's about even. If you look at the bars there. You know, the question obviously is, could we trade Ullman for more than a first and a third? The question also is, do we want to even give up George Ullman, who has 100 goals and 246 career games, which is still pretty good. He has been mid in the playoffs, including this last postseason run. He was a trash bag. Here's the decider. He's dropped. He's dropped from a first line forward to a second line forward. He was a first-line forward last season. He is no longer. I hate to say it for Ullman, but I think he's out. I think he's out. Given we still have Kuba, Perry, Wellwood, Makala's there. I think Ullman's got to go. I think we take that from Calgary. I can't guarantee that there would be, because if anyone at this stage of the season, it's very unlikely. If anyone wants to trade their first rounder, it's going to have a lower value like Detroit's. Fuck. Well, after 246 games as a Leaf, I think we're going to let Ullman go. We will accept the qualifying offer from Calgary. Or we'll refuse to match it, take the compensation. Lord knows I don't really want him at $7.2 million for 3 years, so goodbye to Mr. Ullman. And we'll take the compensation from Calgary. Gordy Clapperton gets an offer, $4 million for 2 years. we'd get a second-round pick. Him, I am less excited about giving up. That's a good amount of money to pay. He was our best forward in the playoffs this past season. Him, I'm less likely to want to give up because this guy is a PK king with those abilities. And he can chip in for offense, too. We're going to keep Gordy. We're going to match that. Dickinson takes the qualifying offer. Again, the last year for him as an RFA. Next year, he'll be a UFA. I wasn't expecting Dickinson to take the deal. $9.1 million left in available funds after that. And we still have Perry, Lume, and that's it. Actually, Bardovich took the deal. So the big question now is whether or not Perry gets offer sheeted, which he might. I agree we lucked out with Dickinson taking the qualifying offer. That's a pretty big break for us. And we do get to the start of a new season. So we know that Perry will be relatively cheap to sign. It's just, do we keep him? Lume as well. Because they'll have likely more value now unsigned than they would once Perry has a higher cap hit. So we do have to make a choice. $8 million. We got Emerton and Bardovich in goal. Backstrom is right there as well. So it's 4 or 5. We have room for one more goalie. Nicholas Eriksson is likely that guy, and he is. So let's bring in Nicholas Eriksson. Defensively, in terms of unsigned, Denny plays for London, so we won't be bringing him in anytime soon. And for forwards, Coleman, we don't know yet. Rue plays in junior. McEachern's in junior. Pratt for USA Hockey, so we'll be signing Pratt. He will likely be a Marley this year. Okay. So Ullman's gone. He is the first big domino to fall. Goaltending should be set. I mean, Jesus, we have 4 goalies at a 76 or above. If one of them can't win in the playoffs, then we're boned. The defense, the top 4 is set. I still have to double check rolls here. Kuba shot up to a 90. Well, I don't even know if we're keeping him. Ling is a top 6. Kostopoulos is a top 6. Roloff is not. Perfect. So we can go Dickinson, York, Hartman, Bouchard, Ling, and Kostopoulos. These 2 will be our 3rd pair this year. I have no issue with that at all. On the right, Majkov, Salmonen, Clapperton, Weeks. Leave Coleman unsigned for now. He can still play in junior. Our right side still looks set. Left side, Kuba, Perry, Wellwood, Makela, who should be on the 3rd. We still have to make a choice between Kuba, Perry, and Wellwood. It can't be the best for Wellwood's development. I mean, Kuba has to be a first liner. Perry has to be a first liner to get the most out of their development. You could try to offset it with like Perry on the second line with special teams work, but it doesn't guarantee that we'll get the most out of them development-wise. And it also means Wellwood would have to be on the power play instead of someone like Kuba, because he'd get that top line time, but these 2 would need the power play time. So Perry or Wellwood have to go. One of them has to go. Fuck. And then at center, Cooley, Misa will end up signing Lume and probably playing Shantz on the 4th line again because Pratt's not ready to go. So center's pretty much set once we get Lume signed. So Perry is already 23 years old. The benefit to him is the gold X factor. That is something that his direct competition does not have. He is also very, very well-rounded. Can make it snappy, magnetic, 1T. Regular season-wise, he's coming off of his best season to date. He's pretty much good for 35 goals. Playoff-wise, he's been okay, but not amazing. Especially this past playoffs. I mean, just 2 points in 5 games isn't great. Then there's Wellwood. Again, only has the silvers. He's also pretty damn well-rounded. He has a phenomenal shot, too. Big rig crease crasher, big tipper. Obviously, he's younger. He will be cheaper for longer. Had 43 points on the fucking 4th line last year with power play time. Keep them both. We can't. Or at least we shouldn't. That's the problem. Because either way, one of them won't be able to perform to their max ability. Perry is probably the one to go because, again, he wants that top line time. And we can't give it to him. Whereas if we keep Wellwood on the second line, like, we're fine. Again, I can't keep all 3. It's just the power play would suffer. The power play would suffer. The question is, what the hell do we trade him for? Either of them. What kind of extensions they want? I mean, Perry was making $4 million last year. He's going to look for a decent amount. That's the issue. Oops. I mean, Perry, $5 million for the year, but obviously if you ask for more... He's only got this year... I mean, he's not going to have RFA status for too much longer. End of next season would be his last year. So up to age 25 is when that RFA status expires. Just a lot more contract control. I'm going to see if there's a deal that makes sense. If there is, we'll look to take it. If there isn't, then maybe we do just figure something out and potentially risk player development. The problem is, for other positions, I don't need anybody unless we were to pair Misa or Cooley. Cooley, whose value has only gone up. It would have to be for a high level forward. Use Perry and one of our other guys to get an upgrade. Upgrades are tough to come by. Very tough to come by. There's Mason McTavish out there. He's not an elite goal scorer or point producer. He's just not. Fadal, we're in that tough decision-making time. Connor Bedard's on the last year of his deal. Austin Matthews has already signed an extension and is getting a raise. I don't know if I have the assets to pull off a trade for Connor Bedard, but I could try. I mean, Pettersson's too old for him to be the staple of that trade. Cousins at 31. Suzuki, Pelletier, Hellenis. Yeah. McGroarty, it's not that good. Delmore at 19, but he's not... It's not super high-end, and he's a left wing, which doesn't help. Declan Wallstrom Robertson. I mean, right now, the only real move to make is for, I'm going to guess, Bedard or one of San Jose's franchise players. There's Gavin McKenna on Detroit, but again, so far, he hasn't proven to be an elite point producer. Connor McDavid's 35. That's how far into this we are already. Again, Neighbors, Kachuk, both now on the twilights of their careers, or at least getting there, past their prime, you could argue. Boldy and Thompson. Caulfield's 31. That's a tough trade to make with Montreal of all teams, too. That could come back to haunt us. Bratt and Hughes are both, again, a bit older at this point. Tim Stützle's 30. Tough trade again to make. There's right wing Owen Sador. I mean, he'd be a hell of a 1-2 punch net front presence. One power play, you have Kuba. Second power play, Owen Sador posting up in front. I don't mind the sound of that. I don't. We're going to consider Arizona, and we're going to consider Philadelphia so far. Pittsburgh, McCutter, Gauthier. Again, left wing, though. Doesn't really fit the need that we have. Okay, Marquardt's only an 80. Again, 2 franchise-level players for the Sharks, including Jalen Quincy. It would be fucking impossible to get this guy or Bedard. Their trade values are so high. Matty Beniers and Shane Wright. 96 on the face-off for Shane Wright. He has shown he can put up those point totals. And then Beniers as well. It's proven he can be a consistent point per game guy, if not over. So those options are also there. St. Louis with Kyrou, Dean, Bolduc. Perfetti, of course, decided to actually be good for Tampa when he wasn't really good for us. Vancouver has that left wing franchise player. Doesn't really fit what we have or what we need. And then Winnipeg is where David Pastrnak signed. Okay. So it's either Arizona for Connor Bedard, right? Which would mean Perry and then either Cooley or Misa. Cooley signed to a damn good contract, right? My guess is off of trade value because they don't want to trade Bedard is that it would have to be Logan Cooley, who typically is pretty damn good for us in the playoffs. Not that Michael Misa isn't. Either way, it would suck, but it's Connor Bedard. It would be worth it. Then there was Philadelphia. And what would be Perry and then probably Salminen or Michkov for this guy, Olin Sador, former first overall pick. He and Matches Kuba are very similar and could be a tremendous 1-2 punch. Now, Sador also wants first-line time, which I don't hate. And obviously, super young contract control would be great. San Jose, it's Jalen Quincy, who I think would be fucking impossible to trade for, and they have already signed him to that massive contract. So it would have to be a Michkov move. And Perry, it would be Perry Michkov plus. I don't see how we get Quincy in that deal because of the value of Michkov or Salminen. There's just no fucking way we can afford that contract. There's no way. Trade value-wise, we would have to give up so much. So San Jose is out. And in Seattle, it's like, well, if we're gonna go after a center with Beniers or Wright, you might as well go after Connor Bedard, except, Beniers and Wright are at least locked up. Connor Bedard's not. And we know his contract's going to be insane, but it is Connor Bedard. At the same time, I don't necessarily want to weaken Arizona because I'm desperate to meet them in the final. Yeah, Bedard pretty consistently posts over 100 points a season. Beniers has done it once. Shane Wright has never done it. So, it is either a blockbuster deal with Arizona to try and get Connor Bedard, or we go to Philadelphia and get that power forward. And the other problem becomes, there's no way. I don't see how we pull this off. I don't see how we pull it off. Even with the cap hit for Misa or Cooley. And then the argument is, well, Jesus, who the hell do you keep? I think Bedard's too expensive. Philadelphia. I like the idea of Sador. We move on from Perry. And that's the thing, right? Like, Connor Bedard's probably going to hit the free agent market, and if he does, we just go for him. I would say Salmonen's the guy to use here, right? Obviously, the idea is get rid of Michkov. Salomonen's going to want a new contract next year. 70-point guy, but really more of a 50-point guy. He's not a great playoff performer, whereas Michkov in the past has been a playoff performer. This past postseason run, he wasn't that great. The only reason to potentially deal Michkov and Salomonen is to have Sador and then give Clapperton and Weeks more of a role, and possibly even play Troy Coleman on the fourth line this year. Because, man, the PK with Clapperton, Weeks, and Coleman. Again, Clapperton has quick pick. Weeks has quick pick. Coleman has quick pick. They're all defensive forwards. But do we trade both of these guys when we wouldn't have to? It'd be Perry and Salomonen as the key to this deal for Philadelphia. No doubt. No doubt. From there, I don't know if they have another prospect I'd be interested in. There's Calvasari, who is also a defensive first left wing. But we do already have Makela in the system for that. I think we'd go off of draft picks. There is this guy here, not Wyman, but Salo. I know Salo, who I remember from the draft a couple years ago as a right wing. Perry and Salomonen to Philadelphia for Sador, Salo. I don't know if I could safety net this with anything. I doubt it. We take out 1 second. Perry, Salomonen for Sador, Salo, a second and a third. Sador, Salo, and a second. They're worried about their cap. Actually, they are smart. They wouldn't have the money to sign Perry. They are smart. So this deal would have to be Salomonen for Sador. And then I would have to deal Perry in a separate trade. They do want to get rid of Joel Farabee. He's expensive. Joel Farabee could be a very expensive depth forward is what he could be. Right now they got $3 million in cap. I'm presumably going to have to take someone back who makes at least 4. Take all of the Farabee contract back. Salomonen, Sador, Farabee. It's a lot of value to work out. A lot of value. Maybe if I offer Farabee instead of the other guy, they still will have the cap space to take it. And then honestly, we could flip Farabee. We could hold on to him. I wouldn't give a shit either way. If we take out a third. Take out another third. Sweeten it just a touch, they say. What about a 4th rounder from Vegas? So Solomon and Perry and a 4th for Sador, Farabee, and a 2nd. They still don't think they'd have the cap to sign him. Is there anybody else that I can take back in the deal? I didn't imagine I'd have to try to help Philly clear cap space. What about Kuzman? What about Kuzman? Would probably have to get rid of the 2nd rounder. We take the 3rd rounder next year. Solomon and Perry and a 4th for Sador, Farabee, Kuzman, and a 3rd. Take another lower pick. Give it 2 4th rounders. Is that enough? That's enough. I think we have our trade. I think we do. And it's not going to be a full trade, but I don't see a situation where we can land Bedard. So leaving the team will be Salomonen because his replacement is Sador. We move on from Perry because we need to get rid of a left wing. And 2 4th round picks. And joining the team is Sador. For the moment, it's Farabee, Kuzman, and a third. I'm going to take that deal. So we have said goodbye to Ullman, Perry, and Salmonen. 3 fantastic wingers. But it had to be done. We weren't going to be able to keep going season after season with the same group. Now, the big question is, can I flip Kuzman and Farabee? Particularly Farabee, who I could use as a depth option this year, but I'd prefer not to. For Kuzman, it's looking like a third and a nobody. It's about the best we can do. Otherwise, it's, you know, random depth players. Owen Tippett's there. And we could use Owen Tippett as a depth option. Jake Christensen makes too much money. Or we see how good, like, Vorobiev is as a prospect. Let me check out this guy. Does McDavid have a cup? I don't think Edmonton's won the cup yet. Vorobiev is trash. Vorobiev is trash. At least we know that we can move Kuzman. Let's see the Owen Tippett in a third trade. Tippett's an 82 at 33. He's literally just a guy right now. He is just a guy. So Kuzman, the return is going to be a third-round pick, basically. It's just what else do we want included in that? So again, I'm not really worried about roster players. We will still take that deal, though. We're going to send Kuzman out to Winnipeg for Owen Tippett and a third. We might look to flip Tippett as well. See how far we can have this trade tree branch out. So on the wing, Tippett. 4th round pick and a nobody. 6th and a 7th. I'd probably prefer the 6th and a 7th. Just to not have to take a nobody back. But yeah, 4th and a 5th. Looking like the max we can get. Well, not a 4th and a 5th, but a 4th. Hello, 3rd round pick from Tampa. All right. Ooh, 3rd round pick from Vancouver. Let's go Vancouver. So we'll move Tippett out to the Canucks for a dude named Wiseman and another 3rd round pick as this trade tree continues. I doubt I can move Wiseman for anything, at least on his own. I just don't want this dude taking up a roster spot because he's so painfully mid. But that leaves the other big piece, which is Farabee. And there's not a great trade for Joel Farabee right now, at least via Trade Finder. But I am willing to manually set up this trade because I don't care. I mean, Farabee would be like a 4th liner for us this year. We might as well get a return. So if we were to use Farabee and Wiseman, who has cap space? Boston does. Again, obviously, I'd prefer not to send it to an Eastern Conference team. Calgary, Carolina. I'm looking at contracts, which I know is... Well, actually, never mind. It's not cut up for you guys. Los Angeles could be good, but they don't want him. Nashville would be over the cap. Again, I'd prefer a team that wants Farabee. Extra trade value if we do it. Colorado's probably the one then. I'd have to take back a little bit extra than I prefer to. Let's talk to Colorado. Do you have anything interesting that you're looking to give up? And the answer is no. You don't want to give up a damn thing. Good to know. However, you have a 1st round pick. You do have a 1st round pick. And you're right, they do have our old friend Colborne there. I miss him. Let's take on Jack McBain. And let's also take on someone else on an expiring contract. It's going to be this guy, Rizzy. So Farabee, Wiseman. Where are we on this? Okay. We use our own third rounder. So Farabee, Wiseman, and a third for a first, McBain, and Rizzy. Does not go through. God, we have so many third rounders now. Well, this might be a little bit more pricey to try and get this first rounder than I was preferring. But I do think it's worth it. I do think it's worth it. If we can get them to budge, which is very unlikely. Very unlikely. Might not be worth it anymore. Might not be worth it. Yeah, the first rounder is going to be too much. All right. Well, instead of the first rounder, then, we can tell Colorado to kick rocks. Dallas isn't going to work out. All right, I cannot handle banging on a trash can music right now. Can't do it. I mean, Florida would make some sense. Minnesota doesn't have the cap space. Rangers barely have the cap space. I don't want to trade him to an Eastern team because we know how the hell it's going to end, but we got to try it. Shout out to Bob for the follow. Welcome in to my nightmare. Rangers aren't a great fit. There's got to be one team that makes all the sense for a deal like this. Even if it's Boston now, so be it. They got no one on the block that they want to move. Beggars can't be choosers at this point. Fuck. Yeah, beggars can't be choosers, and unfortunately right now, I'm in a bad spot for maximizing the value of this trade. I'm in a real bad spot. It is true we could retain salary on him. It is true. That might help us a little bit. That might help us a little bit. I was hoping not to, but... So again, the Rangers still work. But they don't really have anybody that I want. Lominen wouldn't be that bad. Just waive him at this point. There's value to be found. Seattle's right up against the cap. They don't have prospects to get rid of. They don't want to trade their first either. Tampa would be a bit too much. Vancouver would be a bit too much. Anaheim's a bit too far over. Boston wasn't getting rid of anything that we wanted. Colorado, again, was a bit of a pain in the ass. Dallas doesn't work. Edmonton doesn't really work. Florida wasn't really getting rid of anything that we wanted. Minnesota. Hello, Rory Quint. It's another left defender. Having him be a part of this deal wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It would not be. Farabee and Wiseman for Quint to second, third, and fourth. Wow. Can I stretch it for the first round pick? I doubt it, but we're going to try. Let's try to get that Minnesota first if we can. Why not? Farabee, Wiseman a third for Quinton a first. Just low. I think we're going to pull this off. So the official trade tree is going to be rather interesting. Rather interesting indeed. So Wiseman and Farabee out. So by the end of it, it is Salmonen, Perry, and 2/4 for Sador, Quint, a first, and a third. I think we did pretty well for ourselves at the end of that trade tree. I think we did pretty well indeed. I mean, Sador as a top-notch player already. Quint as a prospect, another first. I think we did pretty well for ourselves. I think we did. Those were some tough players to let go of. And now we have $13 million in cap space as well. That's retaining 50% on Farabee. We're looking okay.